Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome on the Culture News. My name is David SERERO, and I have on the phone today the one and only, the wonderful Simon SHACKLETON. How are you, my dear Simon?
Hey, how's it going, man? I'm pretty good. Just been enjoying some fine summer weather here in the UK. So.
You're lucky. Where are you now?
I'm down in like the southeast part of the UK. I'm just in my flat at the moment, but it's a beautiful summer's day. So.
Oh, good for you, good for you. Well, in New York, the weather is still very good, but, you know, there's still that humidity that is killing us, you know.
Is it super hot there then?
Yeah, we're living with the air conditioning, thank God. I can imagine how it used to be in the old days, you know. But
I know what you're saying.
now, you know, we're pretty much blessed. So, my dear Simon, I listened to the wonderful, I will say it many times during this interview, wonderful album and single called Piece of Me that you just released. This is absolutely first-class music. Not only it is a good electro music, you're going to tell us how would you describe exactly your music, but it is, before and above all, it is any kind of genre music. It is just fun to listen. You know, it's extremely well produced. There is a wonderful melody. I love how you use also the vocals, the sampling, how you're working on it. And I can't believe like all the piece of work that it must have been to produce all of that, because, you know, each track you can hear how you work on the sound and how you made it as perfect as possible. So I wanted to ask you, my dear Simon, why don't you tell us, for the few people who don't know you, where you're from and what brought you to music?
Wow, that's a big question. First of all, thanks for the kind words. I mean,
my pleasure.
Yeah, this particular album's been it's been quite a long time coming for me. It's been a bit of a labour of love. I've actually been involved in the music industry now for the best part of 25 years.
Wow.
You know, I began my career playing in bands. And I used to, one of the first people that I collaborated with was Tom York from Radiohead when I was at college. And
wow.
We were very good friends. We played in a couple of bands together. He became the DJ at the big student night at Exeter University, where I was at the time. And when he left to go off and do some band or other called Radiohead, I took his job basically. Yeah. And became the DJ, and it was a cool time to be finding my way with electronic music, because it was the sort of acid house era. There's a lot of exciting developments, and I've kind of, I over the years I just kind of combined this love of live performance, live musicianship with electronic music, and at varying points in my career I've released music under the name Lunatic Calm in the late 90s. And then, I've produced for a number of years as Elite Force and then Zodiac Cartel. And in the last 3 or 4 years, I've developed some other interests outside of just making club music. And really the Simon Shackleton stuff is me being myself and just allowing myself to properly express my ideas creatively. So that kind of takes you up to the present day, really.
Wow, that's really. You were playing when you were in that band. For the people who don't know, what instrument you were playing?
Back then, I mean, I was a classically trained keyboardist.
Wow.
So I used to do keyboards, and I used to do the vocals as well.
Wow.
So it was a mix of things, and then in the band that I was in with Tom, we didn't have a bass player, so I became the bass player as well. So I just kind of I just picked up a bass for some of the tracks and played that, and then there were other tunes when I was doing the vocals and the.
You even have a master's degree in classical composition, so congratulations to adapt this also in electro music. So talking about electro music, how would you describe your music?
I mean, for me, it's never really been about genres. I mean, I'm not a fan of genres. If you take your average guitar band, you know, they're very much in the habit of making albums, and albums are the opportunity that artists have to effectively write a book. You know, they can have lots of different chapters, lots of different styles. It's where people can really be creative rather than, you know, those little short stories that dance music's about, really. So for me, you know, I've always loved albums. I've come from that culture of listening to them from start to finish. You know, I think they're a real opportunity for artists to properly express themselves. And when I sat down to write the Piece of Me album, that's really where I was coming from. I'm kind of, you know, I've written music for the dance floor for years and years, and I enjoy it, and I've always, you know, loved DJing, but I really wanted something more, you know. So I just allowed myself to feel much more free about my creativity, and you know, I was really kind of surprised, but also really happy with the way things turned out.
Wow, that's really inspiring. Regarding also, I love your music video. I love the Piece of Me official video that you released, and I love how you are moving on it. I believe you are very creative also on the visual aspect, because also it's funny because I interviewed a lot of DJs and people who are doing electronic music, and a lot of them also are coming from the visual arts, you know, from the graphic designer. And when I see the music video, I see your desire to improve the visual aspect. How would you explain that nowadays?
Well, I mean, I'm a very keen photographer, which
wow.
I have, you know, I have been for many years now, and really in the last 3 or 4 years, you know, I've started to focus a bit more on that, and I've become really interested in the way that you know, photography and music and video to an extent can all intermingle. I mean, we live in a culture now where, you know, multimedia is everywhere.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
It's like the way that we consume our art is, you know, it's multifaceted. It's not just kind of one dimensional. And I'm actually starting work on. I'm going up to Scotland in about 3 weeks, and I'm doing this big project where I'm interviewing a bunch of people in Scotland, and what I'm going to do, and taking a ton of photos, and I'm going up there with a filmmaker as well, so we're going to shoot a load of video. But the idea at the end of it is to create a kind of an electronic multimedia piece that uses all these found sounds from interviews and different cultures and what have you, which will be, you know, it'll probably have more of a kind of classical feel to it than anything else that I've done in the last few years. But it's exciting, I think, just to stretch yourself and just allow your imagination to run riot, you know.
Wow, that's very, very exciting. And I wanted to ask you, because what I really love all the musicians who are, as you said, not closed in one genre, or they are just DJs. They are not just playing in nightclubs, but they want to bring the music wherever it is possible to place it, because they love new collaboration. And I want to say how much I love the fact that your music has been featured in over 40 movies, including the original Matrix, dozens of TV shows and adverts, a lot of game soundtracks, including Shockwave, and you co-wrote with a multiple Oscar winner, Klaus Badelt, who wrote the music for the Pirates of the Caribbean. Tell us a little bit about your music being in movies and TV shows and beyond just the electro crowd.
I mean, that's a really exciting world for me, and it you know, it's something that the music that I did with Klaus Badelt was particularly exciting because, he what was very interesting about meeting him was we both come from almost opposite worlds. So his background is computer coding. So he's actually a computer programmer by trade, and over the years he's found himself, he's kind of become a classical composer, whereas I kind of started off as a classical composer, and I've wound up doing more electronic music. But as a collaboration, I think that made it very exciting. And he was quite an inspiration in the way that he works, where he has a huge state-of-the-art studio in Paris and an identical one in LA.
I'm going to go there, man.
I know, it's really cool. He has a team of people that work on his stuff in LA. Then he'll go into his studio in Paris the next morning, and everything's completely automated. And he's designed the software for this. Yeah. So they may have recorded an orchestra or something in LA overnight, and he'll just press a couple of buttons, and the entire orchestra will come up on his studio in Paris.
Wow.
So it's very inspiring to see how the different worlds work, and for me, I mean, like writing music for video games is it's a very different skill set that you need from obviously writing music for the dance floor. There are quite strict rules as to what you can and can't do, but sometimes creatively the biggest freedoms come from having the most constraints.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I
agree with you. Well, listen, Simon, I cannot congratulate you enough for all your wonderful work and how you're bringing this music and you know what? I think we hear it in your music because from having a master degree in classical composition, for starting to play in the band, then started to be a DJ, to write soundtracks, to write music for films, for TV shows. I think we hear it in Piece of Me. We hear all because you took the best of all genre and you brought it into Piece of Me, and we hear that music so fresh, so mature, so intelligent, and really so much creative, and the sound again is so amazing. Like we really feel it. You really took the sound itself to a new level, and I'm telling you, 20, 30 years from now, your music will still sound very, very fresh. It's like Thriller of Michael Jackson. We listen to it now, we still think it was recorded yesterday because it was something in the sound, and I kind of feel the same thing when I listen to a Piece of Me, because it is really, really, really a first class album. So the single has been released already. The rest of the album is released as well. When is it going to be? People can purchase it, right?
Yeah. So the album was released a week or two ago. So it's available through iTunes. It's available on my own Bandcamp page. You can find out all the details actually from my website. Which is simonshackleton.org.
.org. Don't go that .org.
.org.
I forgot to say that I have some kind of a privilege with our dear friend at Vision Music Promotions, because I was able to listen to the rest of the album. So I took I took for granted that everybody had that kind of privilege. So no, the whole album also has just got released. The whole album is also called Piece of Me, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I love the artwork, by the way. So did you do the photo?
I did, yeah. All of the. I mean, the album artworks. That's one of my photos. Basically, everything. The way when I released it, I kind of released track by track, so I wanted it to kind of unfurl gradually over time, so people had a little bit more time with each individual track. Yeah. And for each track, I combined 3 or 4 different photos of my own and just created these kind of montages that I felt had a kind of deeper meaning. for each track. So, I think further down the line, I've got a whole bunch of remixes of some of these tracks, and I think further down the line, possibly early next year, I'll start taking some of the photography that I've done, some of these multiple images, and actually starting to design some kind of a live performance around it. But I've just got some other projects on the go between now and Christmas.
Well, we are very, very exciting to see you that, and I think we're all falling in love with your music and with your photography and all the other things that you are doing. So once again, anything we had on the phone, my dear friend, Mr. Simon Shackleton, who released this album called Piece of Me that is available on iTunes. Go to purchase it, okay? This is very, very important to listen to that music because it kind of takes the electro music a little bit to another level, which is absolutely wonderful. I hope more people will follow that path. You can find all the information about Simon on his website called simonshackleton.org. You can watch all the other things. So, my dear Simon, anything else we should know?
I think that's it for now, man. I mean, thanks for all the super kind words, and
my pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and
my pleasure, my dear friend. So thank you so much. My pleasure, and thank you so much. And I want you to know that the doors of this show are yours forever. Once again, it was Mr. Simon Shackleton releasing his wonderful album called Piece of Me. Thank you, Simon.
Thanks, my friend. Goodbye.
Goodbye.